The PlayStation 1 provided me with some of the best gaming experiences to this day. The console itself felt so innovative, like we were coming out of the Stone Age graphically speaking. It also allowed more developers to be more innovative and experiment with their games and give us some really evergreen experiences that would last a lifetime. Let's take a trip down memory lane and examine why this is so special and why I think it was the golden era for video games. I distinctly remember the jubilation and the optimism when the PS1 was set to come out in 1984. It was one of the first consoles to utilize a CD-ROM disc instead of a cartridge, and, at the time, there were really only two giants in the gaming industry at this time, with Sega and Nintendo. I honestly give a lot of credit to Sean Layden, who wanted to break the mindset that video game consoles at the time were just toys and mold it into more of an entertainment device. Layden was also able to convince Sony's new CEO, Norio Oka, that this would ultimately be a success, but not without some doubt. Those of us that were around at the time remember how good Sony's marketing was at the time too. A lot of what you saw was very dark and very mature, and unlike Nintendo during this period, it would make you feel like you're playing an adult console. This marketing acumen led to a total of 100,000 consoles bought on launch day and 300,000 by the end of the year. Seeing this perhaps unexpected success in Japan, it led them to bring the product overseas to the US and Europe with a planned launch of September of 1985. The drop the mic moment came at E3, which is something that no longer exists sadly. But, to those that don't know, E3 is where everything used to happen in the gaming space, and it was extremely hyped to be a part of, or even just watching videos on it. Now, back to why this was important for Sony. Steve Race, who was head of the development for Sony of America at the time, took the stage and said $2.99 and left. Now, while young me didn't quite understand the significance of this at the time, what Sony did was basically undercut Sega in a huge risk to take up some of the market space and drive sales on a good price point. It also painted the PS1 as a rogue or a maverick platform and really got people talking and developers excited. Within the first year of its life, PlayStation had taken a 20% market share of the American video game market. Its ploy to outsell the Sega Saturn was also a success, as it outsold it in the UK and the US. With this success, it allowed game developers to have more creative freedom, and with that freedom, in the use of the cheaper CD-ROMs, it was able to bring us games like Crash Bandicoot, Tomb Raider, Final Fantasy VII, and Xenogears to really drive that innovation that gamers really hadn't experienced before. Speaking personally, playing Final Fantasy VII and Xenogears both changed my life forever, and these games still hold value in innovation even that modern games struggle to match. Seeing the A and B cutscenes in Final Fantasy VII, for example, just absolutely blew my mind, and then the anime cutscenes in Xenogears were personally super cool, and it felt like I was playing in my own action movie as a kid. I wish I could even go back and relive that sometimes, because that's really a special feeling, let me tell you. These games were also more challenging than certain Nintendo games at the time, so this sort of added to the allure for me. Speaking again on Final Fantasy VII, it had managed to sell 10 million units, which really pushed the PS1 to its limits graphically and commercially, with its immense success and really a sign of these times. Another sign of success outside of RPG games was Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo felt so groundbreaking for a racing sim at the time, and also had great commercial success, selling 11 million units, and by 1999, the PS1 had 60% market share, which is astounding for something that was seen as such a tremendous risk. From personal perspective, using the controller of the PS1 was also really cool, and it felt like I was using something from the future, and I thought that this is something that I'm currently able to play now. I can't really imagine how awesome games will be when I get older. They most certainly did improve in all aspects in later gens with the PS2 and PS3, and you can even make the case that they really haven't stagnated too much, with the exception of the PS5 not meeting many people's expectations exclusive-wise, but it has met expectations sales-wise, and is even approaching quartering the market, as Xbox has failed the past 2 generations. I know much of this has been singing its praises, but I also consider my own nostalgia to play heavily into loving the PS1 so much. I could go on for days about the times I have spent playing just the RPGs alone, and their ability to change people's lives for the better. Even when you consider the PS2, 3, 4, and 5, I tried to examine this without rose-colored glasses as best I could, even though I must admit it's hard to not want to share some of the cool memories from your childhood with other people. From the previous reasons that I mentioned, and even with the PS5 now doing an anniversary collection for the PS1, it takes me back to memories of a carefree time in my life. A time when we could go to our friends' houses and play the newest games that we had rented from Blockbuster or local store, and we'd just go and order pizza and hang out until the early morning, not really worrying about anything going on in the world. I really can't thank Sony enough for helping me build some core memories with friends I'll never forget, and the experiences I can eventually share with my own children, and see the reactions on their faces just like I had once upon a time. With how modern gaming is now, I do feel like things were less monetized, and there was a lot more creative freedom with the bigger game studios than there is now, with the costs and studios getting shut down what feels left and right over a failed project. There were also complete games on disc at launch, and you really got your money's worth when you bought a PS1 game, and you could also trade games with your buddies to try other genres as well to expand your horizons. Not to mention, there feels like a slow push to phase out physical media, which I'm really not a fan of, and I love having a physical game collection, and it's something that can't be pulled from a digital marketplace. I do not want digital to be the only place to be able to buy games for the future, so having a physical collection of older games is something that is just special to me. I hope that you enjoyed my little blast from the past and letting me share some fun memories, and I hope I was able to unlock some old memories from your childhood as well. While the future is definitely exciting for gaming and technology as a whole, it's still important to cherish and remember our past. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Star Soldier 17, out.